I want to bring in one of the representatives who voted against this bill in the House, John Duarte of California. Congressman, thank you for your time. What was it that you didn't like about your colleague's plan in the House?
Well, I did like the border security parts of this bill. This was a bill that I very much would have liked to support, but it also had an e-verify, a very rigorous e-verify check in it that would have made it very difficult for food producers, farmers in my district, and some of the working families in my district who've worked in ag and food for many, many years to continue working in food without being disruption, without creating liabilities for farmers, and without pushing a lot of these hardworking families further into the shadows as they try to produce Americans, dinner. And because we couldn't strike the e-verify clause of this bill, I chose to stand against it.
Okay, let's talk a little bit more that and what you've experienced in your state. You are a farmer yourself, so you know firsthand the contributions that many asylum seekers who come to the United States are able to contribute to that industry, in particular in California. How do you reconcile their desire to pursue the American dream and be here when you hear the Secretary Mayorkas say we are a country of laws and our system is overwhelmed? How do you make sense of that in your head at this point in the process?
Well, what we've needed for many decades now, since the Bracero program in the 50s and 60s, which was a workable, flexible farm worker program that allowed for a legal presence in America as these guest workers came over to work here. We haven't had that for years. We've had the H-2A program. It's been very small. It's very difficult. It's very complex. And it's not as flexible as many producers in agriculture need it to be. And so we need a good guest worker program, and then we need a DACA fix. And I think by raising my hand and saying, look, I'll stand against this bill for this specific reason right now against my party, but I'm here to talk to. And if there's Democrats that want to come together and start to put together and compromise on a bipartisan bill that can make it through both houses and actually create the border security and some of the normalcy for people working hard in our economy today, then there's a deal to be had that will actually make a difference at the border.
Has there been any backlash to you not supporting this from your colleagues in Congress?
I've been very clear with them from the beginning that if there was e-verify in this bill, that I would not be able to support it unless it had a guest worker program and a DACA fix. Now, would that be enough to get it through the House with Democrat bipartisan support and the Senate? We'll have to see. There's probably other input to be had. But I think my caucus understands my stance. I've been very clear. We've had some long discussions, and I very much am on board with the broad commitment to America that Republicans made in this last election. I've voted for most every bill that's come forward, not because of any pressure, but because I think this Republican caucus's agenda, the commitment to America, is very good policy for America, for my district, for all families in my district. This one bill had a clause that I think was untenable. It sends the wrong message to Hispanic working families and other working families that are contributing to our economy that need some normalcy in their lives. And I believe we can do better.
I hear you, Congressman. The Secretary also made it very clear that he points the finger and places much of the blame for the situation that the U.S. finds itself in with immigration on 2 decades of inaction in Congress. It feels as though Republicans and Democrats are still very far apart from any bipartisan legislation to address this. Where do you think is the middle ground between both parties to actually get something done?
Secretary Mayorkas is AWOL. He is completely ineffective. He has shown no interest in providing sensible border security for the country. We saw under the previous administration, the border was substantially under control, particularly compared to where we are now. And Secretary Mayorkas needs to look at those policies, the policies that our president, Joe Biden, canceled on day one of his administration, and that's led to utter chaos and safety problems, public safety problems throughout the country. So we don't need to hear Secretary Mayorkas trying to put this blame anywhere else other than in his own lap and the president's, and anything else is nonsense.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.